What does it mean to live a good life? Over 2,000 years ago, one man stood in the streets of Athens and dared to ask. His name was Socrates. He owned no wealth, wrote no books, held no office of power. Yet his relentless questions shook the foundations of society itself. And when the city demanded his silence, he chose death over obedience. His sacrifice lit a flame that still defines philosophy today. Athens at its height picture. Athens in the 5th century BCE. A city crowned with glory, democracy thrived, art flourished, thinkers debated in its bustling streets. Yet beneath the brilliance, shadows lurked. War with Sparta had left scars, corruption ate at democracy, and uncertainty filled the air. Into this world stepped Socrates, a strange, stubborn man who belonged to no one, yet challenged everyone. The man behind the mystery. We know him only through his students. Socrates wrote nothing. Plato, Xenophon, and others kept his memory alive. They described him as barefoot, unkempt, with bulging eyes and an eccentric air. But behind that odd exterior burned a razor-sharp mind. He cared nothing for riches or fame. He cared for one thing, truth, no matter how uncomfortable it might be. The method of questioning his weapon was not speeches, but questions. What is justice? What is courage? What is beauty? He never handed out answers. He peeled away illusions. With each question, he revealed contradictions in people's thinking. To some, it was eye-opening. To others, humiliating. Politicians looked foolish. Poets, exposed as ignorant. Craftsmen, forced to admit limits they never saw. His philosophy was not a lecture. It was a mirror held up to the soul. The Oracle of Delphi. Then came the riddle that defined his life. The Oracle of Delphi declared, "Socrates is the wisest man in Athens." He laughed. "How can I be wise when I know nothing?" But after reflection, he understood. Wisdom lay not in claiming knowledge, but in admitting ignorance. Others pretended to know. Socrates embraced the search. And in that humility, he found truth. A teacher without a school. Socrates never opened a school. He charged no fee. Instead, he wandered the streets, stopping merchants, slaves, students, politicians, anyone willing to speak. To him, philosophy belonged to all, not just to the elite. Among his listeners were men who would shape the world: Plato, Xenophon, and through them, Aristotle. Socrates was the seed. Western philosophy became the tree. Enemies in the city. But the gadfly stung too deeply. Many Athenians saw him as a corruptor, a man poisoning the youth by teaching them to question authority. In a city wounded by war and betrayal, suspicion turned into fear. He was accused of disrespecting the gods and of planting dangerous ideas in young minds. Socrates, the questioner, had become the accused. The trial of Socrates. In 39 BCE, he stood before 500 jurors, an old man with nothing but words to defend his life. He argued he was a gift of the gods, sent to awaken Athens from its slumber. Silencing him, he warned, would wound the city itself, but his defiance only hardened their anger. The verdict? Guilty. The sentence? Death by drinking hemlock. The refusal to escape. Friends begged him to flee. They had the gold, the influence, the plan to smuggle him away. But Socrates refused. To run would betray his principles. He had taught respect for the law, even when unjust. To live dishonorably was worse than death. Philosophy was not words to him. It was a way of life, and life demanded courage. The final moments. Plato tells us of his last day. Surrounded by students, Socrates spoke calmly of the soul, of death as a passage, not an end. Then he took the cup of poison, steady hands, unshaken voice. His friends wept. He reminded them, a true philosopher does not fear death. With serenity, he drank. And in that moment, his teaching became eternal. Legacy of a martyr. His death transformed him. No longer a nuisance, he became a martyr of thought. Plato carried his words into history. Aristotle spread them across the world. Christian thinkers saw in him echoes of martyrdom. Modern teachers see in him the father of critical thought. By refusing silence, Socrates achieved immortality, not of the body, but of the mind. The philosophy of courage. What makes him unforgettable is not just his questions, but his courage. Philosophy, he showed, is not written in books. It is lived in choices. To live with integrity, to stand firm even before death, that is philosophy in action. His trial forever warns us of the price of free thought in societies afraid of dissent. Lessons for today. In our age of endless voices, endless noise, Socrates' lesson cuts deeper than ever. To think like him is to pause, question, and strip away illusions. He teaches us the danger of blind certainty. He reminds us that truth demands sacrifice. Philosophy, he proved, is not about knowing. It is about living wisely, courageously, authentically. Conclusion. Death over silence. Socrates chose death not because he welcomed it, but because he would not betray his mission. He believed it was better to suffer injustice than to commit it. And so, in an Athenian courtroom 2,000 years ago, a question was carved into history. When silence and truth stand before us, which will we choose?